guys, welcome back to another episode of our life seasons where we talk about the different seasons of life and how we grow through it. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about finding confidence or just the topic of on confidence. I have been struggling with confidence or self confidence for the past, I would say, few years. I'm not someone that is very, I would say, outspoken. I'm always very shy. I'm always the person that you can find in the corner of the room just because I don't like attention, and neither do I like to always be in the conversation itself. So for the longest period of time, I feel like I didn't really think that being introverted has something got to do with my confidence, but I feel like it's kind of related in a sense. So I will talk about it a little bit more as we kind of discover what confidence is. But I just want to say that for this episode, it was actually inspired during my trip to San Francisco, my solo trip, my first ever solo trip. So if you have not heard um all about my solo trip, you can actually hit back a few episodes so that you can actually listen to that. I talk a lot about what happened and how the trip happened and stuff like that. So it was my first ever solo trip, and you could tell, I would say that everyone would think that it's really scary, right? It is really scary traveling alone, having to do everything alone. I think this was the biggest test for my confidence, because I think that was when during this trip, that was when my confidence level just, I don't know, it skyrocketed, and I was actually made aware that I wasn't as confident as I want or think that I am. And during this trip, I kind of unpacked a lot of my fears, my limiting beliefs, and confidence was one of them. It made me realize that, oh, I'm actually not as confident as I thought I was gonna be. Um During this trip, I needed to have confidence because I'm navigating the roads alone. I'm actually eating out alone, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that, coming from someone that doesn't like to eat out alone. And I've never been outside alone just because I was scared. And also partially, of course, I wasn't confident enough, right? I wasn't confident with how I look. I wasn't confident with my people skills, just because I think I was always told that I have this RBF, for those of you who don't know, resting bitch face. So basically, I just have this face where I'm not very approachable. And I get it, right? When I don't smile and I'm just stoning, I get it. I'm not angry, but just people feel like it's really hard to get to me just because of how my face is, like my first impression, right? So hearing that I didn't really have much confidence, I always thought that, you know what, yeah, it's just my face. And I kind of sit with it and take it as an excuse, I guess. So I didn't really have, or rather, I didn't really want to work on, being more confident, because I always had this misconception of confidence is equals to arrogance. But I soon came to realize that confidence is actually silent, arrogance is loud. Okay, so this is one thing that I've actually realized, because I always thought that being confident means you have to be in the center of attention, and you have to just be the person that is constantly speaking, like really outgoing. And I would think that outgoing people are really confident, but I was wrong, because yeah, because confidence has nothing got to do with you being in the center of attention. You can actually be confident, like silently, and it shows through a lot of your posture, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, right? And that's one thing that I had to learn, and I started to realize after reading books. I started to realize that, oh, so confidence can be internal. It's actually internal. Arrogance, on the other hand, is really loud. Like people who are arrogant, they are yapping like away. They feel a need to kind of justify their point, or they feel a need to just constantly be in the circle of attention, I guess. But confident people, they can speak. They speak when they need to, and they speak with grace, they speak with elegance, and they speak with so much confidence. And you can tell someone from someone who's confident to someone who's arrogant, right? And I feel like when you know that, it's very easy for you to kind of navigate, who are the people that are confident. And it always inspires me. People who are really confident always inspires me, right? Because the actions that they take, and I just sit there in awe, thinking that, oh my god, like, how can someone be this confident but at the same time so attractive? I suddenly feel that, people with confidence are so attractive, and I find myself going towards people, or rather gearing towards people who are more confident, because I look up to them and I feel like, oh, I would love to be that version of me. And that was when I realized, okay, so it's about time that I start to see, where I am in terms of my confidence level, or what's going on, right, in my mind, like what's happening, because I find myself not being able to, I would say, be part of like conversations, or rather just feel confident enough to voice up my opinions, right, in group settings, for example. Like I would just be the person that it's really silent. I will input like my own opinions here and there, but I would always feel like, might be too much, right? I might be too much, and I feel like a lot of times people might struggle with it as well. You might think that confidence is something that you need to work on, or you want to work on, but you just don't know how. I was like that, until I told myself that, you know what, I need to work on my confidence to be able to be the highest version of myself. Because the highest version of myself, and I mentioned this before, she's someone that is really calm, someone that does not panic at all when it comes to dealing with situations. And the most important thing is she's someone that exudes so much confidence that when she speaks, people want to hear what she has to say, right? And that's someone that I really do want to become, and I'm on my way there. So I would say that working on my confidence was one of like the biggest part. And I would say slowly but surely, I'm getting there. uh so yeah, like I want to kind of give, I feel like I've read this energy somewhere, and I feel like it's amazing. I'm sorry, like my dog is just, I don't know why he's barking, but I hope you're not picking this up. I don't know if you're picking this up, but anyways, I heard of this energy which was brilliant, I feel. So what it says is that a bird is not worrying about the branch that it's standing on, because the confidence that it has in its own wings to be able to fly when the branch breaks is just so strong that it doesn't even need to think about the branch breaking. And when I heard that energy, I'm like, oh my god, that's true, right? Like you have never seen a bird worrying, or rather, I don't know, like I just don't feel like they are worried. They stand so firmly and they grip so firmly onto the branch that it feels like, when they're just standing there, they have so much confidence in their own wings. And I feel like for us humans, we need to be able to do that as well, right? We are the bird, and we need to be confident in terms of our abilities and capabilities, and just what we're strong at, and to also be confident in the things that we are weak at. It may sound a bit like, what do you mean being confident in the things that we are weak at? I feel like knowing our strengths and weaknesses and working on improving our weaknesses, I feel like that's one of the things that it's super important. Because like I mentioned, life is a balance, right? A duality of life. There will be some things that you're good at, there will be some things that you're not so good at, and use the opportunity to learn more about what you're not so good at, right? And having things that you're confident you're good at, it shows a lot when it comes to you speaking to people, or when it comes to just your whole energy in general. Because for me, I feel like people who are confident, they exude this, I don't know, this really strong, like nice but strong aura to them. Like their energy is so strong because it's just so powerful. And whenever people look at them, or rather me, whenever I look at people who are really confident, I always wonder like where they get their confidence from. And I did ask around, and I realized that people who are really confident, it's not because they have never failed, or it's not because just life just seems so perfect for them. It's because they have honed so much time into building their own confidence, like in terms of looking at their abilities and knowing what they're good at. They know themselves so well that they can confidently tell what they're good at, and they are proud to say that I may not be perfect at certain things. These are the things that I'm not good at, but hey, I'm learning, right? And I think that's one of the most important part, is to know that we're constantly learning, and to know that your confidence level does not have to be tied into the things that you're not so good at, right? Nobody is perfect, we're all learning. And confident people, they actually fail a lot of times, but the most important part is they stand up after every failure, and they stand up after every obstacle, and they realize that it's okay to fail. They realize that um they have that confidence to kind of pull themselves back up and go forward. I feel like people who aren't so confident, or rather for me, when I wasn't very confident, when I face obstacles or when I face challenges, I find myself struggling so hard, because then self doubt creeps in, then imposter syndrome creeps in, right? And those are real stuff. Like having imposter syndrome is something that is so real in the corporate world, rather in the working world, in this world and society in general. Like everyone has imposter syndrome, but just know that I feel like all this syndrome comes when, and or it gets worse when you're not confident at all with yourself because you don't know what you're good at. And I feel like every time, you know, someone gives you a compliment or someone gives us a compliment, right? We would just deflect it and be like, ah, no, I'm actually really bad at this. And I find one thing that really helps with my confidence is to be able to accept compliments. And when, you know, when someone compliments me, I wouldn't deflect it and be like, ah, no. I would honestly say that it's really hard to do it at the start because then you would feel that, oh, am I being arrogant? Or like, you know, people would be taken aback, right, at how well you receive compliments and how well you take it. So whenever I find someone complimenting me, whether or not it's physical appearance or whether or not it's your capabilities or just the work, like job well done, right, I would be like, oh, thank you, that's it. That's all you have to say. You don't have to go on about, you know, saying how bad you are at certain things, because I think that's one thing that we do to our minds. Like whenever, you know, someone else's compliment us or say something nice about the things that we do, we would deflect it and be like, oh no, I'm actually really bad at that. And this whole thing, like this whole situation, kind of allows your brain to be like, oh, you're not so good. Constantly reminding yourself that you're not so good. Because, like I mentioned a lot of times, like the way we talk to ourselves is the way people would treat us. If we don't treat ourselves with respect, and if we don't portray, or not really portray, but if we don't exude this, like, you know, confidence, this subtle confidence even, I would say people would know that. And yeah, like if you don't have confidence in yourself, who will? Right? It's the same thing as if you don't respect yourself, who will? Because at the end of the day, you will be living with this soul and you will be living with this body for the rest of your life. Yes, there may be certain things that, you know, you're not really confident about, and that's totally fine because I feel like everyone has something that we're not confident about, right? The key is to not try to force yourself to accept it. Like I mentioned in the self acceptance podcast, you know, self love is self acceptance. You don't have to try to force yourself to accept it, but you just to understand that not everyone is perfect and not everyone knows the answer to everything, right? And that's okay because when you see yourself as someone that is normal in a sense, like open inverted normal, or rather, you know, there's nothing really like having mental blocks or having negativity doesn't isn't really like, you know, doesn't make you weird. You're not that special in a sense, open inverted. I feel like that's when you start to realize that, oh, you know, you cut yourself more slack, right? You don't hold yourself so tightly to a point whereby you start feeling like you're not good enough. Because saying that you're not good enough, whatever that you tell yourself, whatever story that you tell yourself is true. And I mentioned this a lot of times before because I truly believe that this is important. Like the words that you tell yourself, the story that you tell yourself, and what you believe in, what you strongly believe in, whether or not it's good or bad, is it's true, right? It doesn't really matter. There's no right or wrong. But whatever you say or whatever you tell yourself is true. So if you're telling yourself that you're not a confident person, you're not a confident person. If you're telling yourself that you're a shitty person, you're a shitty person. If you're telling yourself that you're not as good as others, you're not as good as others. Because without confidence, honestly, it's so hard for you to start believing in yourself. Because with confidence, there's so much things that you can do. You know, you can learn from mistakes, you can acknowledge and accept that making mistakes is common, it's normal. You have a different perspective in life, and that's like the most important part, is when you're able to see life from a different perspective, from a bird's eye view. You're able to not constantly be in this victim mindset and put yourself back out and be like, okay, I know I can deal with it. Because when you know that the universe will only give you things that you can handle, that you are fully equipped with the abilities and the talents and the skill sets that you need to, you know, overcome this obstacle or overcome this difficult situation, just know that the universe has given you that. You know, when you know that you're capable enough, that you have all these skill sets, you no longer worry, and you look at things a little bit different. And that's when you can start to really sit down and start to analyze, you know, how can I actually make this work, right? But when you're not confident, you're constantly in this panic mode of like, oh my god, like I don't know, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if, you know, I'm capable enough, right? And you spend so much time, or rather we spend so much time being so frustrated and being so anxious that we, by the time we get to the point where we want to solve things, we're just so tired, right? And that's where we start to surrender. So I always believe that confidence is one thing that I'm still figuring it out, like, I'm still navigating my life through having more confidence. But I feel like one of the things that has gotten me this far is to not be afraid to acknowledge that there are things that we don't know. Because I would think that last time I used to think that, confident people knows everything, like they know it all, and they're just so impressive. Like, I need to be able to know everything before I can be confident in saying whatever that I want to say, right? But that's not true, because everyone's life experiences is different. We go through certain things that others might not, right? And because of the things that we've gone through, we learn a lot more lessons, we gain a lot more skill sets, and I feel like that's just kind of how everyone is built, right? Having this confidence in knowing that, you've gone through what you've gone through, that you still have value in terms of communicating, or rather in terms of inputting like your value and your knowledge to anyone that you have met, and providing value. I feel like everyone has a value to provide. Everyone has gone through things that, can help the society. But when we're not confident, if you think about it, when we're not confident, we gatekeep, right? And we don't share. And that, if you think about it, it's kind of selfish. Because that's how I think about it, and that made me, want to be more confident, want to be able to put out my opinions out there, whether or not it's right or wrong. It doesn't really matter, because in life there's no right or wrong per se, right? There's no right timing to certain things, there's no wrong way of doing certain things. I'm talking about like mindset stuff, right? All the typical things. But um I would say that when there's no right or wrong, and we navigate life, the way that we want to, and the way that we're meant to navigate life, I feel like that's when we are confident in speaking up about our thoughts. Because who knows, like, whatever that you're thinking right now might be something that, whatever someone else is thinking, right? But no one is just confident enough, or no one feels like they know enough to speak about it. Because a lot of topics that I'm speaking about right now, like even on this topic, I am not 100% sure. I don't know if what I'm saying is right, but at the same time, like I mentioned, there's no right or wrong. This is just my opinion, right? Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Because this is a safe space in terms of we talk about every single thing, right? And I feel like confidence to me is something that I wouldn't say I has grasped it 100%, but I've come a long way. And I would say that solo traveling has been one of the biggest thing that has helped me gain more confidence. Because you're put in a scenario whereby you're alone, you have to do everything alone. If you're not confident with yourself, who are you relying on? You have no one else to rely on, right? And that's why I always believe that everyone, whether or not you're a guy, whether you're a girl, whatever they identify with, I feel like everyone needs that solo travel. You need that trip to be able to, and I wish that everyone could, take that solo travel, that solo trip, to solo travel and just really organize everything yourself, logistics wise. Like, you, not only do I find this inner peace, but I also find this confidence that I have not seen myself, being this confident person. Because I honestly feel like we are so comfortable with where we are at growing up, having friends around us, family around us, that helps us, that boosts our confidence, because we feel a sense of belonging with them. But once you're placed out of your country, or once you're placed in somewhere that is so foreign that you have to literally start from scratch and learn from scratch, I think that's when a lot of exciting things can happen, right? A lot of times, when I tell people that I solo traveled to San Francisco for 3 weeks, they are like, oh my god, that's a long time. Like, it's so scary. Isn't it scary? Don't you miss home? I feel like a lot of fear questions starts coming up, right? And I don't say that it's not scary. It is scary, but is it worth it? 100%. I've learned so much during this trip, um as compared to when I am here, in my comfort zone. I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about the country itself. I've learned so much about people in general, right? Because I take the time to sit there and start to soak in, my own thoughts, and I start to really question. And one of the themes that I wrote down this podcast episode idea, finding confidence, during that trip, because I felt like I was navigating through life again. I was finding back my confidence, because for a long period of time I felt like my confidence level was just low and low and low until it was non-existent, right? I used to be so confident about uh the things that I am so passionate about, you know, like self-help mindset stuff. And just when I read certain books, when I resonate with it, I'm so confident in, the things that I'm sharing with people. But as time passes, I would say this, sometimes some people may come to you and be like, oh, I don't, they may challenge, whatever that you say. And that's fine, right? It's open for debate. But the thing is that I think I kind of let that um affect my confidence level, when people rebut, or rather when people debate or ask me certain questions relating to what I've just commented, and I don't know the answer to that. I feel like, oh my god, I should have known the answer to that, or am I wrong? I start to doubt myself, right? And that all boils down to me not being confident enough, or me not being able to sit with myself and be like, look, you're doing amazing, right? And I feel like this is the thing that we need to tell ourselves more, that you're doing amazing, whether or not you're taking small steps to building confidence. No matter how small that action is, no matter how small it may seem, just trust me, over time, this growth is going to be so amazing. Like, it's going to mount into something bigger. I feel like we always like look down, or rather we belittle these little changes, and we don't see, the long run, that how it's going to help us, right? Because I can tell you that looking back, I've not known like when I actually started working on my confidence, but looking back right now, I can tell you that my confidence level has grown so much. Right now I'm able to, it's so funny because today I just kind of want to give a little update on what happened today. So today was my first day face to face meeting, the trainees, the other trainees of this Google traineeship that I'm currently in for 1 year. Going into it, I was very nervous because for the past 1 week we were all doing virtual sessions, so it was all Google Meet. But today was the first day that we get to see each other face to face. I was really nervous. I was wondering, how it's gonna turn out, like where, because we come from various backgrounds, right? Some of them are fresh grads, and some of them like me, mid career switchers. So I was afraid of what people would think, of course. I was afraid of, how I would present myself. And because I know that there were group assignments, right? So I don't know how, like, people are going to act in group assignments. And in group assignments, or rather in group settings, like I mentioned, I would normally be the one that is really reserved and silent. And I don't want that anymore. I am at a stage where I no longer want to be that quiet and reserved person, or rather, whenever someone think of like, oh, Wen Yi, yeah, she's really quiet. Because that's the thing that I've gotten like my whole entire life, like growing up, whether or not it's in report cards, since primary school, like the remarks section where teachers would write down their remarks of you. I've always received this feedback of, she's very quiet, she's very reserved, she needs to speak up more. And I was really uncomfortable doing that because I just wasn't confident enough in the things that I say, or rather I don't think that I have that um and I don't think I have any valuable thing to say, right? And that was when I was like, okay, as looking back, I felt like, okay, my confidence only started building up when I started to read a lot more, when I started to listen to a lot more podcasts, when I started to value experiences over just theoretical stuff, right? And these were the things that built up my confidence a lot, because I then have evidence in a sense to support my statement, right? Like, oh, I did this once and it worked out this way, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, reading allows you to be more knowledgeable, and that's why I always encourage my friends, or rather I always believe that reading really helps. Whether or not it's just 15 minutes a day, it really helps. Because trust me, like, I was someone that I didn't love reading. In a sense, I just kind of didn't read for a really long time, and I stopped for like 10 over years. So picking it back up, it was hard, right? Sitting there with a book for 15 minutes was really, really hard. But like I mentioned, small things will mount into something bigger one day. And I sat there reading 5 minutes, just 5 minutes a day. I sat there to just read, a few lines. And as time passed, because of the knowledge that I was gaining, I felt so intrigued by a lot of things. And I started to sit there and be like, oh, this is fun. Like, I want to read more. I want to finish that chapter. And I feel like it's really important to find books that you're really interested in. Like, for me, I'm really interested in self help. So I started off light, right? I didn't go into like the whole manifestation, the whole, I don't know, like the whole woo woo stuff. like this the book like The Secret and Manifesting Now and stuff like that. I didn't go into all that just because it was a little bit too much for me, though I knew those books existed and I wasn't really into it at that point in time. So I started reading from Tony Robbins' book, right? Like The Power of Now, and just really um easing myself into self-help things that I'm really interested in. So let's just say for you, if you're really interested in fictional or non-fictional books, start from there, right? If you're really into like romance books, start from there. Just get in the habit of reading, because when you get in the habit of reading, whether or not it's like romance book or I would say it's non-fictional book and stuff like that, it's actually okay. Like you start your brain when you're reading, or rather when we're reading, our brain starts to kind of churn, right? And we churn, we get more creative, we imagine stuff, we visualize certain things, and I feel like that's when we keep our creativity juice going. And in life, for me at least, I feel like it's so important for us to be creative, because we kind of lose this imagination side to ourselves. When we're younger, just think of the things that you heard kids say, right? They want to grow up to become like a princess, they want to grow up to become like a, I don't know, like just weird stuff that they say. And it's just so creative and it's so imaginative. But I feel like we lose that as we grow older. And that kind of affects our confidence level, right? Because you can tell that kids are so confident and they're so like convicted in the things that they say, right? When they want certain things, they really want it, and they're gonna do whatever it takes for them to get that thing. And I feel like we need that. We need to find that, that back again, that guts to chase after the things that you want to do, that guts to just be confident enough in the way we look and the whatever that we say, like we know it all in a sense, right? It's sometimes not so bad, I would say, to have that little boost of confidence where you think that my idea is good enough because I have this knowledge, or rather because I've read this book from somewhere, right? And it's okay to say that I may not know this topic as well, but this is just my opinion, right? And there's no right or wrong in terms of having an opinion. So I feel like knowing all this kind of helps you navigate your life through finding confidence. And I would right now, what I want to ask is, just sit down with yourself for a while and think about this. Like, when was the last time you felt really confident? Like, when was the last time you're able to verbalize it or tell yourself that, oh, I'm actually quite good at this, and I'm actually confident in doing this, I'm actually confident in carrying out this certain activity? When was the last time that you felt this way? Because I can tell you, a lot of people, they would think really hard on this one, because it just doesn't come to us. Like, for someone who's struggling with confidence, it just doesn't come like this, right? It just doesn't come naturally. And whenever these questions are asked, they would say nothing. The first answer will always be nothing. There's nothing that I'm good at, there's nothing that I'm confident in. And it's not because it's nothing, it's just because we don't want to praise ourselves too much, for whatever reasons, right? There can be so many reasons out there as to why we don't give ourselves credit enough. But I would say that one of the biggest thing is that, like I mentioned, we feel like we are too arrogant. Like, it's not right to say it out loud. It feels as if it's almost offensive to say out loud that that we're good at certain things, right? Because, oh, you can't always be good at things. Like, you need to, we kind of focus, like this society kind of focus a lot on what you're bad at. And I don't know, it's just kind of not like the thing that I want to live by anymore. Like, I am aware that there are things that I'm not as good at, but I'm also aware that there are things that I'm good at, and I kind of want to hone into that, because whatever that energy that you gives is gonna double the energy back, right? So if I'm constantly giving my energy to things that I'm not so good at, over time what comes back to me is the negative energy, like this negativity of me not being good enough, this negative self-talk, this imposter syndrome. But when I acknowledge that it's okay to have certain things that I'm not good at, and invest my energy into things that I'm good at, I get better, because I grow more. And I would definitely, of course, become more confident, right? Because then I would be able to tell others that, oh, I'm good at this, why not let me help you, right? Build confidence on things that you're good at and help people with it. I think that's when you give value, you build confidence more. Another thing that I kind of want to talk about is on building confidence. One thing that I really found helpful is to be honest with yourself, one thing. Another thing is to actually do what you say you're gonna do. Okay, because this is an interesting one, because a lot of times when we tell ourselves that gonna do certain things, like we're gonna go to the gym, we're gonna eat healthy, we're gonna, I don't know, start working out more, we're gonna complete this project, we're gonna, at least start working on our passion projects, we end up not doing it because we come up with so much excuses like, oh, I'm too tired, like, oh, food coma, like, oh, I can't do this, I have so much work, I don't have time, I need to split my time with family, friends, and whatever it is, whatever excuses that you're giving yourself. I'm sorry to say that it's an excuse because it really is, and it's the hard truth, right? I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat and be like, oh yeah, you really don't have enough time. Like, I don't know what situation you're in, I don't know what circumstances you're in, but I would say that one thing I know for sure is that if you're not doing the things that you say you're gonna do, you're not gonna be able to build confidence. Okay, so this is how it works, right? When we tell ourselves that we're gonna be able to accomplish these things and we prove ourselves wrong by not doing it, we don't have experiences that we can refer to say that, I've when I say I was going to do it, I could do it, right? This builds confidence. And if you don't do that and you're constantly coming up with excuses and be like, oh, I can't do that because of XYZ, and you just let it be and you allow yourself to kind of come up with excuses and move past, then I would say that where there's no room for you to be confident, right? Because it kind of becomes when someone calls you out for it, you're like, yeah, you're right. That's it, right? Then you start all the negative self-talk and all the negativity and you start going into this spiral. So I would say that one thing that I found really helpful is that if you're gonna say that you're gonna do certain things, do it. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Break it down into smaller bits, right? If you say you're gonna like you wanna start working out, or rather you wanna get a more toned body, then it may seem like a really huge goal, right? Break it down into small parts. What does it entail? Does it mean that you have to wake up slightly earlier? Does it mean that you have to get a membership? Does it mean that you can just work out from home? Does it mean that you have to get like a mat, a yoga mat to do yoga or whatever it is? Does it mean that you have to get a cute set of, workout sets so that you can actually feel good while working out? Whatever it is, start, small things, like smaller habits. Does it mean that you have to set out your workout set before you go to bed so that in the next thing that you wake up, you see your set, you grab it, just hop onto it? I would say that don't give yourself this time or any amount of time to procrastinate and any amount of time to come up with excuses, right? So like going back to the whole workout example, if let's just say you set yourself out that you want to work out a little bit more, right? And you're currently not working out at all, don't push yourself by trying to go to the gym every single day because you're gonna burn out so fast and you're gonna feel like it's such a far-fetched goal, right? What you can do instead is to say that, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. Okay, it's not like the next day or when I'm ready. Tomorrow you're gonna start working out, and by doing that you're gonna do like a 5 or 10 minutes workout session, right? And with that, go on to YouTube, pick out that particular video that you would want to watch while working out, right? So use that video, use that workout, I don't know, that workout guide and stuff like that. Set out your clothes on your bed, go to bed the next day. When you wake up, put that on, and you know exactly which video you're gonna click. You don't give yourself time to think, you don't give yourself time to be like, oh, what video should I pick? And then start sitting there and scrolling through tons of videos and then getting distracted by the rest of the videos, this and that, right? Because when you are determined, or rather, I always believe that when we are determined as humans, we will do whatever it takes. We will get there, right? We kind of put ourselves in this survival mode where we're like, okay, we have to do this, right? It's just like how going to work, or rather going to school, right? There's a specific reporting time, and you don't give yourself excuses. I'm not gonna do that. Yes, sometimes we do, right? There's people that sit there and be like, I don't feel like going to school today. I don't feel like going to work today, and you kind of give yourself excuses. But most of the time, we don't do that, right? We get up because we need to. No matter how tired we are, we get up, we wash up, we head out to work. And by doing this, by putting yourself in motion, you don't give yourself time to think. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things to kind of like I don't know, this is just one of the things that really builds confidence. I kind of digress a bit, and that's a topic for another day. But I would feel that, to have confidence, you really, really need to start um doing the things that you say you're gonna do. Because all this build confidence, right? And at the end of the day, when you look back at certain things, you can tell yourself that I'm not a procrastinator. because I do the things that I said I was gonna do. Like for example, I said I was gonna wake up earlier and I did. I was gonna start eating healthier and I did. All by small steps. It doesn't really matter how long you take to get there, but more of like actually really start doing it. Okay. So I know this is a little bit mismatch of like a little of topics here and there, but I'll say that ultimately finding confidence, like no one else can give you the confidence that you need. You gotta really start digging deep from within. You got to really start seeing, what you're good at when you're not. And if you really feel like, you want to work on your weaknesses, or rather you want to work on things that you're not so good at, by all means, go ahead. Okay. The most important thing is to acknowledge that not everyone is perfect, is to acknowledge that confidence is silence, arrogance is loud. Okay. Being confident doesn't mean that you have to be really loud, doesn't mean that it is arrogant. Because, like I mentioned a lot of times, it's more so of how you construct certain words, how you portray yourself, how you carry yourself, and the way you speak, the choice of words that you use, right? The way you interact with people. I think all these things, like, you can actually tell from vibe. Someone can tell you that you're really confident, not by the things that you say, but more of, how you say certain things, right? And I feel like this is the whole art of confidence, and it's something that I'm still learning, and I hope that, I'll be able to share with you guys more when I kind of get a grasp of certain things. And of course, I think a few years down the road, I'll probably create a, second episode of, confidence. But I would say that currently right now, I would say, take simple steps to start finding confidence. Okay, like the few steps that I mentioned before, doing the things that you say you're gonna do, and then start really looking and acknowledging that there's it's okay to not be good at everything. Hone in a lot into your strength, and sit down, and it doesn't if having confidence or building your confidence means that you need to sit down and start listing out all the things that you've accomplished, whether or not it's, what you're proud of, whether or not it's physical appearance, or whether or not it's just the accomplishments that you have, little things, as little as, oh, I said I was gonna wake up earlier and I did, or rather I said that I was gonna eat healthy and I did, or I was gonna wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. for 1 week straight and I did. I said I was gonna go to the gym. Oops. I said I was gonna go to the gym. I did. I said I was gonna record certain podcasts. I did. I said I was gonna start working towards my business idea. I sat down and I wrote a couple of ideas out there. All these are as important. Okay, I feel like we always deem this miscellaneous stuff, or like this deem these little actions as, we just kind of put it aside and be like, nah, it's nothing. But when you build this momentum, and when you really allow yourself to be in this motion of, finding back your confidence, and just know that, these are little things that you can be confident about, that can build your confidence, I think that's when you start to slowly build it. Because confidence is not built in a day. Okay, like anything else, confidence is not built in a day. Please don't expect yourself to suddenly be this confident person the next day. No, it takes time, and right now I'm still trying to be confident. I'm still um putting myself out there, and I feel like one of the most important thing is to grab any and every opportunity that you can to build your confidence. For me, like, let's just say like for my scenario, I always feel like I'm not confident enough to speak in front of, people, just because I'm very overly conscious about the way I sound, like my facial expression, like my gesture, and I don't want things to, come across wrong and stuff like that. I do worry a lot about a lot of things when I'm speaking to people, when I'm interacting with people, and that affects my confidence. And knowing that, what do? I put myself in situations where I need to converse with people more, because the more you practice, the more you get it. And it's okay in between if, if you fail, and rather if you like, you have obstacles that you need to overcome. It's totally fine, right? The more you do it, the more you'll get better at it, just like anything else. So for me, I put myself out there a little bit more, whenever we're in group projects, like whenever no one else wants to speak, like it's uncomfortable, but I will be there to push myself more. And every single day that, like for today, for example, right, I contributed to a team, like a meeting. Little contributions doesn't really matter. Like, I'm so happy that, I'm able to communicate with people a little bit better now. I'm so happy that I push myself out there. Like, I'm my own force, where I push myself out there and to be like, go do it, like, go say something. It doesn't really matter if it's stupid or what, just say something, right? Because any contribution is still some form of contribution. Any contribution is still valuable. I think that's one of the biggest thing that I've learned today, interacting with different people. And this is something that someone said, and I believe that is so true. As long as you're contributing, they can never be wrong, right? As long as you're contributing, you're constantly learning something. And when you're learning, you build your confidence, because whatever lessons that you have learned, or whatever failure that you're faced with, there comes with lessons, right? And lessons comes with growth. So as you're growing, you become more confident in the skill sets that you gain, because you're obviously more equipped right now, right? It's just like how, just think of it, life is like a game, right? Where there's different levels to it, and which with each level come different gifts. So sometimes you may have, it's like Super Mario, right? uh as you proceed on with, I've not been playing games for so long, but as you proceed on the levels, you kind of have more, little powers, like the banana skin, or just like the cannonball. I don't know if they have it, but you know what I mean. Like, you gain more skill sets and you're more powerful, right? And you're more confident. So I would say that confidence is one thing that I really, really am still working on, but I still hope that, people would start to work on it. And if you find yourself struggling with confidence, I would say that take what resonates, live what doesn't, and work on your confidence a lot more. Start by doing the things that you say you're gonna do, okay? So if there's anything that you want to take away today, just remember this analogy where the bird is not worried about the branch breaking, okay? Because it has confidence in its wings to fly and to take it to somewhere else. So just know that you are that bird. You don't have to be worried about breaking in situations, because you know that whatever situations that you are faced with, you have been equipped with the skill sets, with the knowledge, with the lessons, and just with things that will help you grow from that situation and help you soar from it. Okay, so this is something that I really kind of want to share, and I know it's a little shorter than I think my normal episodes, I guess, but I hope that you enjoy this podcast episode, and of course I will see you in the next one.